Well, hello and welcome to 2022 and another photography podcast, the first one of the new year. Hope you all had a fantastic Christmas and a very happy new year. We are one short this week. Well, we're not actually one short this week. We're missing James, but we've got a special guest in, a special guest replacement, and that's Owen. So hello, Owen. Good to see you again, mate.
Evening, gentlemen. Hey, how are you?
Good to see you back.
Yeah, nice to be back. Thanks for bringing me on.
Yeah. So how was everybody's Christmas and New Year? All good?
COVID-free, thankfully.
Yeah?
Yeah, the old lateral flow tests didn't show anything, so we could have everybody around for Christmas, which is nice. I've seen plenty of people post on Facebook an array of lateral flow tests positive saying Christmas ruined. So, yeah, managed to escape that, thankfully.
That's the new snow, isn't it? On Facebook, whenever it snows, you just see hundreds of pictures. It's snowing, and now it's like, I'm tested positive for COVID instead. So...
It's kind of a handy excuse if you've got a crappy job and you just want a couple of days off, because you don't have to phone in anymore and go, oh, I've got a really bad cold.
Well, there's a thing going around that I think, was it orange juice can contaminate the test and turn it positive, and the same with coffee. Apparently.
Oh, great.
But coffee, you would notice, wouldn't you? Because the thing would change colour.
Do you have to snort it?
Yeah, but you scan it in, don't you? Maybe the people are using that to get a few days off work, as David was saying.
Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, apparently orange and coffee.
Pour a bit of orange if you don't want to go into work. And then you're off for 5 days or 10 days or 15 or whatever it is.
Mind you, the day that I went back to work, so I was off for 10 days. The day that I went back was the day they announced it, reduced it to 7. But having said that, I didn't feel well enough to go back after 7 anyway. I would have still been off for a couple more days. But
are you back to normal there, Darren? Have you got any lasting effects?
No, I've developed a bit of a cough again, and it just kind of comes and goes a little bit, really. But no, I mean, energy levels now, I'm back to kind of where I was. That's absolutely fine.
So you're staying up till 8:30 now, then?
No, not 8:30, about 15, Dave. About 15 now. I'm working my way up to 8:30.
Are you safe to come round mine then if you're still coughing?
Yeah, I'll cough all over you, mate. You'll be absolutely fine. Owen is, I'm with Owen on Sunday. He's very kindly printing off a photo for me. So make sure you've got plenty of ink, mate. Make sure that printer's working.
We're not allowed to tell people what the photo is, though, is it? It's a bit of a secret one.
We can't, we can't.
You can't do that. You can't come on here and talk about something and say we're not allowed to talk about it.
We can talk about it, just not the contents of the photo. It's just between me, Darren, and his wife, Helen.
Oh, right.
Right, that's getting serious now, isn't it? Right, okay. Yeah,
you get up to in your own time. It's up to you.
So is your printer better than Darren's then, Owen? Is that why?
Bigger.
Is
bigger?
Too.
Oh, you've got a bigger extent.
Darren, Owen. Darren.
Yeah.
Owen.
We're still talking about the printers, right? I mean, I guess it wouldn't need to be that big, though, would it, Darren? If it's one of you.
No, you see, Jamie. That's
rude.
That's a euphemism, you see, Gary.
Yeah, I know. I was just for the never mind. Yeah, I'm stupid. I'm sorry. I don't understand these things. They go straight over my head. So, anyway, has anybody got anything exciting to tell us? Do you want me to start? I can start. I've got something exciting to tell everyone. I've got a Mercedes.
Tell us, Gary.
I've got a Mercedes.
Have you?
Yeah.
Have you?
I've got a really nice Mercedes. Yeah. It's a hire car. It's a hire car.
Which one is it?
It's a C200 estate. It's lovely. It's like driving a hearse and sort of laying back and falling asleep. But my car, went to pick my daughter up from university, and I blew the turbo on my car on the way up. So I still drove it all the way there and all the way back, of course. But it was fun.
Blown turbo.
Well, it wasn't. It's not blown, but it's on its way out. Yeah. So basically, I was driving. When I was going down a hill, it was great. But anytime I was driving up a hill, I was being overtaken by cyclists and things like that. It was an interesting drive. So, but at the moment, so they came to collect it on Tuesday, and this is, by the way, just to let everyone know, Thurlow Nunn, just so you know how bad they are, came to collect it on Tuesday. I still don't know anything about it. I haven't heard anything. I don't know if they've even made it there. It might still be. They might be driving it around the country. I have no idea.
But you're in a Mercedes though. So
exactly. So I don't care. That's why I'm not chasing it up.
Yeah,
I'm like, you take your time, mate. Yeah. So there you go. That's my news.
Estates are always better as well, aren't they?
It is massive, though. I've got to say, it's massive, and it's like I drive a Zafira anyway, which is quite long. But this one, it's sort of, I don't know. Every other car I've driven, I'm like, yeah, come on, like, let's get going. This one, I'm sort of like, if I'm driving Miss Daisy, I'm sort of like, I feel like I just want to sit back and just cruise everywhere at sort of 40 miles an hour. And hello, yeah. So anyway, don't mind me. Carry on. We'll cut that bit.
I got some news, I guess.
Oh, excellent.
I got married November.
Oh,
middle
yeah,
of November.
congratulations.
Oh, wow. Well done.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Not as interested as my car news, but
No.
Does your girlfriend know?
Not yet. I've got to tell her. Still got the girlfriend living here, and the wife is yeah.
Is this what the photo's about?
Well, potentially. We can't talk about that. But yeah, so we waited over a year, and we were lucky, weren't we, really, because it was middle of November, so it was just before all the whatever you call it,
Omicron, yeah.
coming about. So yeah, we had a really good time. I'm now a married man.
Well done, mate.
So
Congratulations.
when's the baby due, Owen?
Probably a good few years yet. But yeah.
Good, yeah. Wait a long time, mate.
No, you've been talking about having a child for a while, but then every time you get close, a new lens comes out. And then you think, baby lens.
I know, and I've just got a new baby. That Gibson's new, so I've got a new baby now. So
yeah, right.
Yeah,
Okay.
you don't need another one for a while, definitely not. How old are you?
Oh, I can't disclose that.
18, 19.
Yeah, about that. About that.
I'd wait until you're at least 45 before you consider it. That's what I would do.
You just don't have them.
Or don't have them. I hope your family don't watch, Paul.
Yes, you do.
He's
Out of interest, not that they're watching any of them mistakes, or were they just all planned?
You're talking to me?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, they were planned, definitely.
Oh,
My
right.
wife.
Yeah.
And I went along with it because it's fun. for about 3 or 4 seconds, and then it's 20 years of misery. Sorry.
Oh, dear.
All the fathers are laughing quite a lot here, aren't they?
Yeah. It's funny because it's true.
You don't want to patronise, do you? But you'll learn, Owen. I mean, everybody told me, oh, you're having kids. Yeah, why? They're wonderful. Yeah, okay. Let's move on. No, they are. They're brilliant. Kids are brilliant, but they come with challenges. Yeah.
No.
Very much so. And you think the worst of it is when they're young, but it just carries on. It's just relentless.
Because I had my children late, and all my friends said to me, when they get older, it's going to get worse. I said, it can't get any worse. It can't get any worse. You've just forgotten how bad it was. Yeah, they're right. Your son beats you at FIFA, at Call of Duty, beats you on every computer game going.
Yeah. It's really funny when there's a point where, as the dad, you're always kind of like say physically the strongest, and all of a sudden it kind of creeps up. I mean, like my Sam's like kind of 27 now, but this happened a good few years ago, perhaps when he was about 22, 20, something like that, and it creeps up where actually we was at work together, and I'd say, oh mate, can you give us a hand to pick this up with me, and he'd just put it on his shoulder, and I was just thinking, when did that happen? When did my little boy, do you know what I mean, all of a sudden become this kind of really strong person? So it's really funny how it just kind of creeps up on you, and then they overtake you, as Paul says, on so many things.
Plus there's the converse happening as well, because you're getting flimsier as time goes by.
Well,
absolutely.
That's what I've noticed is how flimsy I'm getting playing computer games. He's just beating me left, right, and centre. I've tried my best, tried my hardest. He says, "What's wrong with you, Dad?" I said, "Well, I'm 50."
Yeah. The worst thing for me is I remember the generation above me.
Sorry.
That's
You're
all right.
50 in a few days, did you say, Paul?
Yeah, in a few days, a week on Saturday, I'm 50, 15th of January.
A week
Happy birthday.
tomorrow.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. All right, yeah, happy birthday, mate.
You
Happy
doing
birthday.
anything for it?
Well, we were planning on having a party that I wasn't meant to know about, but that's another story, because when we had my 30th, I wasn't meant to know about it, but I did do. But because of like Omicron and various other things, I just said to Andrew, if you're having people around, I don't want them to feel obliged to come if they're worried about, COVID. So just tell them, don't bother, we'll do something in summer, have a barbecue or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, not for I'm not worried about myself, but lots of people will be thinking, should we go or should we not? And then I think it's because I'll feel better cancelling it rather than nobody turning up.
You see, I thought you were being diplomatic there, where what you're really saying is, because I'm already feeling it. I'm 50 in June. I don't want
Yeah.
I don't want to see anyone. They can all... I'm
No,
not
I'd
interested.
love to see people, but it's that dichotomy, isn't it? If you invite 100 people and one person turns up, so I could use Omicron as an excuse.
Yeah.
If nobody comes, then it's because of COVID, not because nobody likes me.
Well, would you like us to give out your address on the Pubcast, Paul? We can do that.
No.
Open
no,
house.
No.
Okay, all right. Well, the offer's
Yeah,
there.
yeah,
Don't say we
thank
didn't
you.
offer.
I'll give you my address for you guys, but it's going to be a long way to travel. I'd love to see all you guys, but and a few people possibly who watch this, but not 1,000 of them.
Well, I'd love to come, Paul, but Omicron and all that,
I know. Yeah,
You could give us all a lift in your Merc, guys.
Yeah,
in the
absolutely.
hearse.
You could probably all lay down in it, in the boot. It's like the biggest thing I've ever driven. It's very strange. And what I was going to say about getting old was that you have the older generation when you're sort of 30s or whatever, and they say, "Oh, come round and help me to do this," on the computer, and you go, "Yeah," I say, my daughter's doing that now for me. I'm sort of like this, like with my eyesight going, "Oh, I can't. Just press that button." I'm like, "Oh, what button?" So give it to me. It's like, there you go, all done. It's scary. Hate getting old.
I had I had a bit of a milestone moment with one of my lads at the weekend. He's turned 20. Well, he's been 20. He's 21 this year. But this weekend he went for a house party on New Year's Eve, and it was his first weekend where he went too far with the drink and got absolutely paralytic. And I got the call to go and pick him up from a house party and bring him home because he'd fell asleep on the floor and he was absolutely out of it. And it was one of those moments you think, yeah, been there, done that, know exactly what you're going through. But, it was then the responsible parent time. Let's get this son home and get him to bed before he chucks up everywhere.
Oh, yeah. I hated that feeling.
Yeah, but we've all done it. We've all been through that. And it's good that he's done it because he's now gone past that point and he knows exactly how far he can go without.
Oh yeah, and I bet he'll never do it again like we never did it
He
again.
won't.
Yeah, because we all got to that point, didn't we? When we were, drinking too much and went, that's the point just there. I'm never doing that again next week. Straight down the same route.
All he's done is just upped his tolerance a little bit, Jamie.
Yeah,
Potentially, yeah. Or at least he knows how far down the Jägermeister bottle he can go. And I think that's the point.
So shall we talk about something? There's a couple of bits that have happened recently that we could just sort of discuss really quickly. One of them is that Landscape Photography of the Year has opened its entries again for this, 2022. And the other one is that the F4 guys did that whole road trip and what have you, and they've deleted all of their stuff, haven't they? They basically said this is on sale and we're going to delete it forever after this point in time, and they've deleted it forever. So I don't know, let's start on that. What do we think about that?
Guys, who are they?
Thomas Heaton and Adam Gibbs, Gavin Hardcastle, Nick Page, and I don't know. Do you know they did that road trip?
I saw it. Sorry, I was just confirming that it was them you were talking about. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So they're deleting it. All right, good.
I'd like to see him do another one.
Yeah.
I really would. Yeah, I really would.
Don't worry, because if you do want a copy of F4, I understand there are some pirated ones going around for tuppence halfpenny, naming no names.
But going back to the actual kind of F4 guys, I just think a bit like us, kind of where we're kind of like genuine friends, and we've kind of known each other for a long time. Them four seem to have, or five, but them main four seem to have like really good chemistry between them. And I really hope that they do another one.
I really enjoyed that stuff they done was it in Canada? Somewhere that was on YouTube where they all did it. It was a few years back now, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. I don't know if it was in Canada, but in the snow.
That's where they first met, was the YouTube video Tom did with Adam and what's his face, that was really good. I really enjoyed it, but I have no idea about what they did for F4. Or I saw some videos flash up about we're breaking up sort of thing, like they'd all had a falling out or something. But I just assumed it was like some sort of marketing thing. I just wondered what it was.
I tell you what, the actual original concept was a brilliant idea, very well executed. They got a professional filmmaker, Greg Snell, to come along with them. And they did some of their own vlogging while they were there, but the actual F4 program was a whole series of videos, obviously with the four of them with a great chemistry, but lots of teaching as well. So it was, it was designed to be very educational, and they traipsed all over the sort of southwestern states and also up on the Oregon coast. A great concept and a huge amount of work and a huge amount of cost. I mean, I dread to think what the production budget was, because they were all over the western flank of the states, and I understand it was pretty well received. They marketed it, they dropped sort of teaser videos on their own channels, and I think that. I think it's a great pity that they've just pulled the plug on it altogether. It may well have been that it wasn't, selling hand over fist anymore. But when you've got a body of work and it's out there, you've made the effort to create it, why would you suddenly make it not available? Because, they might still sell a few here and there. It's better than nothing. So it seems a strange decision.
But they may come back with a bit of a bang next year, Dave, or when kind of COVID kind of calms down and they kind of resurrect it, and people know if they don't buy it next time, then there's going to be an end date. Who knows? I don't know.
Yeah. I wonder though whether they're missing out, because if they do come back and they reach a new audience, they might want to buy the old stuff. They might have gone, oh, this is really good. I wonder what season 1 was like. Oh,
Fstoppers do that a lot, don't they? Do you guys know much about Fstoppers? They do a lot of tutorial videos.
Right.
Yeah.
And one notably, because when I first got into photography, started learning, is Elia Lacardi done some. And they were really good about learning how to do Photoshop and stuff. And I guess it sounds a bit like what Dave was saying, a bit like what the F4 guys did, but without all the comedy. It was just literally like a photo tutorial where you take the photo, and then the most interesting part was literally he'd spend about 45 minutes, 50 minutes teaching you how he edited it and all these Photoshop tricks and skills and how to do it. And as he released new ones, sort of get to your point, he would then offer discount on previous ones. So it's like kind of what you're saying there, Gary, isn't it? If they make a new one, it will create more marketing, more audience, and then they could discount the second ones. But yeah.
I wonder whether it's something to do with, I'm just guessing, but is it something to do with server space perhaps? Maybe if it's not selling anything and they're having to pay to something, but it's not a lot. It can't be a big amount of storage, surely.
I just wondered whether it was, as Dave says, the views are going to, well, not the views, but the people that want to buy it is just gradually going to filter out. Whereas by doing this final push, by saying it's now closed, are they going to get a final lift and peak in sales that they wouldn't have necessarily got over a longer period of time by just having a drip feed of sales? So
I'm going to throw this one out there, but I'm thinking, because I'm trying to work my head out, why would you take it off? There's no reason why you would take it off unless they possibly got a film deal and they're going to use the footage on some form of DVD or
Oh,
streaming
how
service.
cool would that be? I would love
Sounds
them
like
to.
it, doesn't it?
Well, they joked
So
about it being Netflix, didn't they?
They'd have to.
Yeah,
take
they
it
joked
off.
about it, Netflix being involved. Yeah.
Well, yeah, they'd have to take it off, even if because if it was somebody like Netflix, they'd say, well, just take it off, and then if they might do another series or something, I don't know. But I mean, if you work it out from a business point of view, there's absolutely no reason. There's two reasons: either they've fallen out, which I very much doubt, or something like that's happened. Because why would you take it off otherwise? Doesn't make.
I don't
any
know.
sense.
What someone said about the server costs, and if they're not selling any, maybe then you just.
But server costs, I mean, it's infinitesimally small, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah.
Or you could just email it yourself. Just stick it on
I'll
your
tell you
job.
what, I'm going to go with Paul's theory, or I would
Might be
love Paul's theory to be right. How cool would that be?
Yeah,
You know,
definitely.
these four guys or five with Greg that
Yeah.
took that huge punt. Do you know what I mean? And
Yeah, it would
something
be,
like
would
that
be
happened.
brilliant. Yeah.
That would be
Yeah.
awesome. That would be.
But I learnt a good life lesson about an hour ago talking to the guy, the luthier, who's just going to sort out my guitar when I get some new strings on it. He's 73 and he's just announced he's going to retire, and he's now got 2 years worth of orders to fill. So what you should do is when you're thinking about it, just threaten you're going to retire, and then you'll get all the work in. So maybe it's a similar concept.
Absolutely.
Okay.
We were also going to talk about the Landscape Photography of the Year, which opened. I got an email a couple of days ago saying it's opened. Funnily enough, I get those every year, but I never get one at the other end of the year when they say thanks, we've shortlisted your image. So I don't know whether they lose my email address for a portion of the year and then find it again. But is anyone going to enter this year?
Yeah, I'm getting into. Why not? Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
Bit of fun. What does it cost, Dave? What is it? What did it cost? 25 quid, is it?
25 quid or
Cost
something.
Dave 400, didn't it, Dave?
Yeah, something like that. It's about 500 quid for the top. No, I think it's 25 quid for 8 images, is it?
Is it 8?
I think that's the
Eight,
basic
yeah.
package.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, for 25 quid, stick a couple in. Why not?
I learnt some very harsh lessons about data storage and data backup last year with that. Because literally the day after I submitted my photos for the... I'm not saying I would have won, of course I'm not saying that, please don't think I'm insinuating that. I submitted all the photos, you know that one I had with the 2 stags?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And the day after that, a Windows update completely crashed my computer, and I'd been lazy at backing up, and I lost all of the raw files
That's
from
dreadful.
last year. And that
Sorry
image
about
I got an email for that image, and then I had to just come clean and say, I'm really sorry. I haven't got it anymore.
Well, you can enter it again this year, presumably.
Got no raw file, though.
No, because
No,
it was
Oh, you got no
also-
raw file?
Yeah. The best I had was a photo on my phone of the back of the camera.
I had the same problem. I got several commended and I deleted the raw files by accident. Unbelievable.
Yeah, of course you did.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
So did I.
So,
yeah.
who else is entering?
I think I will, but it's a bit strange, isn't it? Because I don't know. I don't want to say it because some of the photos but it's subjective, isn't it? I think that's the key. But you look at some of them and you think, well, what are they? I don't know. I just don't understand it.
I think we can all agree on that. We had a conversation a couple of Pubcasts ago about it. Yeah, no, but some of the winning the winning photos weren't as good as some of the commended photos. In a lot of people's views, I'm not going to say most people's views, but a lot. If you took a cross section of the responses on social media, a lot of people were saying the same thing, that the winners didn't seem to match up to the commended. But I don't know. I don't think I will enter myself this year. Because
I'm interested in that natural one. Sorry to slightly
No,
go
you're right.
off on a tangent. That natural landscape one. I kind of watched from a distance with that one this year, but that seemed like it had a really good format, and people got feedback from the judges, didn't they?
Yeah.
So that one seems more like, for me, if I was going to pay to enter one, I would pay to enter that. I don't know how much it costs or anything, but it seems like it's got a much more. You get some feedback from it.
Yeah.
Who organises that?
That's the one that Alex. I don't know how you pronounce his surname. Is it Nail or Niall?
Yeah, Alex Nail.
Alex Nail.
Nail.
Yeah.
Is that the one
Tim
Adam
Parkin.
Gibbs is involved in that as well, isn't he?
I think he is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure he is.
Possibly Stuart as well.
And Stuart as well.
He was a judge, I think. Maybe not this year, but I think he was a judge last year. I could be wrong, but.
So did any of you guys enter that one?
No.
No. Okay. You all know about it though, do you?
Yes.
Yeah.
We all edit our pictures far too much for that.
Yeah.
Do you think? I don't know. The rules seemed quite good for me. Like you could add subtle things as long as you didn't go mental. Whereas landscape photography of the year is either you do nothing or you can do whatever you want. There's no like how I'd say most landscape photographers edit their photos.
I was surprised though because I always thought that landscape photography the only winner or the winner could only come from the classic view, but it can come from anywhere. So you can highly manipulate your images and still be classed as landscape photographer of the year. And I thought it was just initially thought it was just like literally that is the photo. I haven't cloned anything out and I've just tweaked it a little bit, and I thought that was what won, but it can be anything. So I assume you could have a street photography image, like an urban photography image as landscape photography of the year.
I guess if you look back though, they probably never do.
No.
Seems to be leading lines, and something seems to be the flavour, doesn't it, for the...
Seagulls on a roof.
Yeah. That was in Suffolk. Proud.
You recognise the seagulls?
He knows every one of those.
Yeah.
Chats to Dave on a regular basis.
The lady who came, I forget which one it was though, she came runner-up. Oh, her name escapes me. She's a Suffolk photographer.
Jill Moon?
Yeah, Gil, yes. Is it Sue?
Jill Moon.
Jill Moon,
yeah.
I was thinking Jill Moon. She takes some lovely photographs.
She does. I really like her work. Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
On another note, I can't believe I didn't say Stephen. Why did I go for Dave with Seagull? Why did I say Stephen Seagull? Just terrible. Anyway, swiftly moving on before, shall we talk about... Let's talk about... we got one here from Darren, and on the actual topic...
You know this is going to be shit now, don't you? Because every time that there is a topic, and bearing in mind, everyone that's watching, I'm the only one that puts any topics on the topic page.
You are.
But whenever there's one... So all the topics that we spoke about have all come from me. But when there's one that's a little bit wobbly, it's like, oh, and here's one from Darren.
Yeah. Now, I'm sure this one will be fine. So, Darren, this one's yours. And you said, would you rather have an arse for a mouth or a mouth for an arse?
When did I put that one on?
Oh, I just made that one up.
I was going to say, because it sounds like something I would do. I just don't remember that one.
See, it's quite scary.
I'd rather have a mouse for an arse. A mouth for an arse. I think.
Yeah, I think so. And the scariest thing about that is the fact that you didn't realise that I'd made that up, and you actually wondered,
that's what I'm saying.
Did I ask that question?
It does sound like something that I would put on the topic group when I'm bored.
Yeah. No,
Darren, it's the most I've thought about anything this week.
There you go.
Sleepless nights over that. Mouth for an arse. Anyway, no, the reason I said that you'd mentioned this one is because I'm not sure if you want to clarify it, because in the topics it says do you have any non-photographic plans for 2022? Do we want to talk about non-photographic plans for 2022, or do we have any photographic plans for 2022?
Right, hang on. Right, so because I do put a lot of rubbish on the topic group to bore you guys stupid. I think, from memory, what I said, what are our photographic plans for 2022? And I think the other thing that I said was, is there anything that we're considering in the future that we didn't consider, say, like 10 years ago? And that could be like non-photographic. And that was, right, so that was, right, so, and that, I've kind of built this up now to be something, and it's really not, because I'll tell you what I'm considering, which is, I think, I don't know, I lose all track of time, but we was talking about video games, like, I don't know, PlayStations or Xbox or something like that, and I think some of you guys saying that you either play them or you used to play them, and I just wasn't interested. And just, I don't know, for the last 6 months, I've just had this urge to play some of the old Xbox games that I used to play kind of 10 years ago. And I'm just thinking, where did that actually come from? Do you know what I mean? Why now, after all this time, am I thinking about playing something like Tomb Raider or Assassin's Creed?
Midlife crisis?
Assassin's Creed's awesome. It is awesome.
Well,
Now,
I haven't played
brilliant.
that game, honestly, that was the last game I played, Paul. I've never completed it, and that was about 10 years ago. And all of a sudden, I've just got this urge to play it.
Yeah.
So,
Xbox X or PS5? Okay.
Oh, I think I've got an Xbox One, whatever.
I had an Xbox 360. I've always been PlayStation.
Have a handle.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's what made me think. Have any of you guys kind of changed over the last kind of 10 years where you wouldn't have thought about something 10 years ago, but now you just think that really does appeal to me?
I think talking about video games, right? I think you might be all right with something like Assassin's Creed, but don't go too far back because you'll be really disappointed. Because I remember, this is going back a while, there was a game called Wolfenstein, Return to Castle Wolfenstein.
I know it.
Right, and I loved that game. I absolutely loved it, right? And I thought
PC
this is
game,
sort of like, PC game. I do. Kids own an Xbox, but I prefer PC. So I got it back out and I was like, right, I'm going to have a go of it. And it was awful, absolutely awful, because basically, right, the graphics are not like you remember them, and the characters, they sort of like they walk out and they go, shoot me. They're terrible. And it's like, you know, the whole when you sneak past things in a computer game, you think, oh, I was really clever there. Literally, you could have rang a bell in front of their face and they still wouldn't notice you were there. Terrible. Yeah. So don't go too far back would be my advice.
Right, okay. All right.
Wolfenstein was based on the Doom engine, which is, it was something that came after Doom, and it was a brilliant game at the time. Like on a Pentium.
Oh, it was, yeah. I loved playing it. Yeah. I really loved playing it. Weirdly enough... Go on. No, you're right.
No, go on, carry on.
I'm getting a VR headset tomorrow.
So, should we talk about this? Because we did talk about this during our little kind of Christmas sabbatical. We didn't record it, but we did talk about. I think this is hideous. This terrifies the life out of me. This VR bollocks. It really does.
Ready Player One. Read the book.
There you go. That was spooky because that came on the TV as a film that night after we were talking about it.
It did.
Yeah. And I watched it and I thought, I know exactly what Gary's on about now.
Yeah.
Because I got a clue when you were talking about it. That's a really good film.
So basically,
I just think that we as a human race, we take something that's really good and then we just go crazy with it. It's just like we're just on acid or something. And this VR stuff, I know that I'm getting old, right? And I know that, back in my day and all this kind of stuff. But it terrifies me for the generations to come that we're going to start living out of something of the Matrix.
We already are.
But, Paul, it's going to get a lot worse.
We're doing it here now. You know what I mean? This is amazing. We're living in the Matrix here. But, yeah, it's going to come. It already has. It's, you know...
The metaverse that Facebook are on about creating, because I've been doing a little bit of research, obviously, because I'm getting myself a VR headset. They are selling these headsets. So the Oculus Quest 2, which is Facebook's or Meta's VR headset, they're making a massive loss on each model. Each model they make, they're making a massive loss because they want to get as many people buying VR as possible. So when they create this metaverse, they've got lots and lots of people to populate it with, and it's just scary. So basically, they're saying in 10 years time, you won't use the internet. You'll go into the internet. So instead of going onto a screen and clicking on a shop and I'll buy this, I'll buy that, you'll put your VR headset on and you'll teleport yourself to the shop. And you'll see, and you'll be buying I mean, it's ridiculous. You'll be buying digital clothes for your digital avatar to walk around in this digital world, and buy up digital plots of land.
That's already happening.
Yes,
it's already happening on. I can't remember the name of the software. It's already happening that people are buying land and spending an absolute fortune on buying land and then building shops on it, and people are going in and spending money in the shops. That's already happening.
Yeah.
So, the next stage is the VR headset. The Oculus, my lad's got Oculus too, and it's amazing.
Yeah.
But
They're spending real money in those digital shops.
Yeah, no, it's obviously they've transferred it from real money into digital money.
Like a currency.
Yes, but they are spending a hell of a lot of money. Can't remember the name of the blooming thing. The what's it? I'm gonna have a look.
And the thing is,
well, at least they'll have an NFT to hang on their imaginary wall.
This is what I was going to say. It makes NFTs make sense. It makes it does.
NFTs don't.
It makes
Bitcoin does. Crypto does.
No, but it makes NFTs make more sense, because if you own a piece of digital art and you have it in your digital house, in your digital world, it kind of makes sense of NFTs a bit more, rather than what's the point of that? You're just looking at it on a screen, but you'll be the only person in your digital world to own that piece of art.
No, because I can download it and then stick it in the digital realm. And
yes,
stick
but
it on
you
the
could
wall.
also print out a copy of the Mona Lisa, but it isn't the original Mona Lisa. So if you're talking about it digitally, look, mate, I'm with you. I think it's absolutely crazy.
Why are you buying a set of headphones or goggles then?
To get fit, Darren.
To get fit.
Go for a walk.
Yeah.
Go for
Like,
a walk.
You're going to stand in the living room and do your exercises with your VR headset on.
It's so much fun.
Is that the reason?
It's so much
Sorry,
Good
you're
on you,
going to
mate.
stand
Well
in
done.
your front room
Well done.
Yeah.
with goggles on
Yeah.
and do what?
Boxing.
Kick the TV.
Actually, if you've tried it, Darren, it does give you a workout.
It's
Listen,
a high intensity workout.
I don't want to go there. Honestly, I do not want to go there until one day I'm forced to go there, because everything else is shut down. And this is what's going to happen. And then they'll funnel you into something that you've got no choice. But trust me, I would rather walk up a fell, walk up a mountain, sleep in a tent, than wear a pair of goggles, mate, and try and get this fake world. It terrifies me.
What about there's somewhere that's inaccessible, that you can't get to? Let's say
I won't go there then.
But imagine
I'll go somewhere else.
No,
I'll
but
go somewhere else that I can get to and have a fantastic experience.
Yeah, but the thing is, Darren, everywhere above about 100 metres is inaccessible to Gary
exactly.
already.
I've already mapped out 4 virtual McDonald's.
But you're not going there, you're going there virtually. You're not actually going there.
Exactly.
So what's the
Are you
point?
going to do the virtual Wainwrights?
You know what would be cool though? Do you know how you use like photo pills and the photographer's ephemeris and Google Earth to kind of scout and see how the light falls? How cool would that be actually?
Yeah,
I would use that to virtually scout and then go.
Yeah. Imagine in the future there's a virtually mapped out world. And you think, do you know what? I really want to get a photo from, I don't know, wherever, and I'm going to, let's say Iceland, and I haven't been before, and I'm going in 3 weeks' time, and I really want to go here. You go virtually to your little mapped out bit of Iceland, and you can stand in the exact spot and go, does that look like a composition? What about if I moved 100 yards?
Mate,
Come on,
seriously. But if you're going to go that far, you might as well just send a drone to Iceland, take the photo for you, come back, put it on your digital screen.
No, I think Darren, there's somewhere in the middle between what you're saying and what Gary's saying.
There isn't. This is what I'm saying, because these little things are fantastic in their infancy. But we, as a species, we go crazy with it, and we'll be funneled into something that then we've got no way out anymore. And the kids will get used to this virtual world, and that terrifies me.
You're thinking of it from a global thing. I'm thinking it more from like an individual thing.
Exactly, and I'm thinking of the next step on. I'm thinking of further down the line.
Because I would personally, as an individual level, I love using Google Earth and if I'm going to the lake somewhere new, I spend hours looking on Google Earth and looking at how the light's going to fall and where things are going to happen. But it's not a substitute for being there, because then you find other things, don't you? But it's like that first little baby step, isn't it? To start thinking, oh, actually, that's got somewhere that I would consider has potential. But I know what you're saying, Darren. You're worried about global doom, aren't you?
I'm just worried about
yeah.
just generations down. You know, it's one step into the Matrix.
I'll tell you what, if they did a virtual home fell, I'd be up there every day.
No, you wouldn't.
Well, if I could build a virtual McDonald's on it, I'd be up there every day.
See, that's the thing. That's what they'll do.
Have you been up home fell yet, Gary?
Yeah.
It's lovely, isn't it?
Well, I don't know, I was too knackered to appreciate it.
We gave him oxygen halfway up, he was fine.
On a serious note, you got to look at the positives. You know, there are a lot of people that can't walk up fells. There are a lot of people that are in wheelchairs and, you know, dodgy knees and this, that and the other, and maybe the virtual world will give them the opportunity to go and do that.
It's a double-edged sword like everything, isn't it? It's like, I bet you, if you go back to people our age when the internet first blew up, people in their sort of mid, 40s and 50s talking about the internet, they would have said probably the same things as we did.
No, you can push it as much as you want. It's coming, and it's coming very soon. It is. I'm looking forward to it, to be honest. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
It doesn't stop you taking the goggles off and going out to home fell. You know what, Darren? There'll be just me and you on home fell because everybody else will be sat there with goggles on. Yeah.
You'll have it all to yourself.
We'll have the place to ourselves, yeah.
Place to be full of avatars.
While you lot are doing this, and Gaz is in his front room, smashing all these plates off the wall. Yeah,
absolutely. There'll only be a few up there. Yeah.
Bring it on then.
It's just up to the individual, isn't it? I mean, I've taken a step to just completely get off social media, and I love it. It's brilliant. I'm just taking that person. I'm still got accounts, but I just don't go on it, and it's been brilliant. It's just up to the individual, isn't it? How much they want to do things.
Did you know what? I've done exactly the same as you with Twitter. I deleted Twitter about a week ago, 10 days ago, and it's just joyous peace. It's lovely. It's really nice. I missed it the first couple of days. I kept looking on my phone to go on it. But then after that, I haven't even thought about it. Don't know what anyone's up to. Don't care.
Exactly. Instagram's the same. And I mean, it's a weird thing because before photography, I didn't have social media at all. I had a Facebook account that I never used, but I didn't have Twitter, didn't have Instagram, didn't have anything. It wasn't until I started photography that I got all of those. And I've kind of done a full cycle now where I just think, well, I don't really care about them.
Isn't this a great example of what we're just talking about, of how technology can change our lifestyle? You know, you two are now saying, I feel so much better now I've lost that technology, I've lost that social media connection with the world, and it's affecting you personally because you're feeling better about it. And that's technology that's doing that, or social media that's doing that. What we're talking about here is, in the future, are we all going to be wearing goggles and wandering up fells?
Yeah, it's strange, isn't it? Yeah.
And that's just a sign of how the world is developing. As Paul said, Zoom, what we're on now, where would we have been 10 years ago in a COVID situation if we didn't have Zoom and Skype and the rest of it? We wouldn't be able to keep in touch with our relatives, wouldn't be able to see our loved ones and the rest of it. It's just, I guess it is just a sign of the way the world's evolving, and we just have to get on this bus or get off it, I suppose.
Exactly.
Simple as that.
And you personally make that choice whether you want to get on or get off, don't you? It's exactly that. I mean, certain things you'll be forced to do. You'll have to do it because, like internet banking and things like that, you'll have to. But
I think as long as there's a benefit for you as an individual, then that's great. If you see it as a bit of a luxury or something you don't really need in your life and you'd rather go and physically do these things, I guess you've still got a choice to do it.
I'll tell you what, Darren, next time we go out and we meet up, I'll bring my VR headset and you can have a go.
For what we'll be out? For what reason? What am I going to look at?
You keep fit.
Me front room.
Bit of boxing.
Yeah.
You can do a bit of virtual boxing.
Gal, do you know you're not buying this VR for keeping fit?
I am.
You're using the keeping fit as an excuse to get the goggles.
Well, yeah,
absolutely.
There is that. But yeah, to be honest with you, right, I do want to use it to keep fit, but I also am really sort of keen to sit and watch films. I can watch you on a big screen. Darren.
I know what's going on in Darren's mind.
Not those sort of videos.
Films.
I mean, like proper films, like real films.
But surely there's a fatal flaw in this boxing, is that you're not getting bashed. I mean, how is that any good?
No, that's a good thing.
Yeah, we might as well just stand in the room and pretend. You don't need to spend 300 quid on a headset to do that.
No, but it's not just that. There's lots of other apps that you can get that are. The point is I'm a terrible exerciser. Let's be honest, as you can probably tell. I'm not a great dieter, and I'm a terrible exerciser. So if I spend...
So you can eat virtual chocolate?
No. Do you know what? I haven't...
Is that just a virtual kebab?
I haven't eaten anything bad now, except for the Chinese last night. I haven't eaten anything bad now for 7 days. Right? Okay, we're not counting that one. It's a special occasion. But the point is, if I can do 30 minutes of exercise without realising that I've done 30 minutes of exercise, then that works for me. That totally works for me.
You know, mate, I applaud you. You know, if it's going to help you, you do it, you know.
Thanks.
In all seriousness, you know, if it's going to help you work out, because it will do, if you use it, it's a big workout. If you're doing the boxing thing and stuff like that, it's really good. So, yeah, you go for it, bud.
Yeah, you watch me in three months' time, I'll be half the man.
Just
well,
remove...
you already look a bit slimmer, to be honest.
Yeah, I know.
There's a little bit of a difference in your face.
About a shave.
Since before Christmas, yeah.
Yeah.
Well done, mate.
Yeah, thanks. Appreciate that.
Power. Yeah.
Just remove everything around you, though, Gary, because you can just see you boxing away, and there's pictures coming off the wall. There's a telly going over. There's the dog being kicked next door.
I'll put certain prints up on the wall of vloggers that I don't like, and then if I hit them, it doesn't matter.
You haven't got enough wall space for that.
Do you know? Weirdly enough, talking about getting rid of social media, I have unfollowed so many people on YouTube as well. Just totally gone. Just literally unfollowed. I think I was following about 100 people, and now I'm following about 20.
That's Christmas.
Because it's just
Everybody
what
does
you're
it.
interested in. Yeah.
Yeah, but
It's nothing personal, is it?
No,
Most
exactly.
of the time,
Well,
yeah.
some of them it's personal. I'm not going to lie, but no, it's just. We were chatting about this, weren't we, over Christmas? And it's just, it's not other people's issue; it's my issue. But I was finding myself being wound up by things I shouldn't be wound up by. So if I just take them out of my life, I'm not wound up by them anymore. And it's not other people's fault for doing it. It's my own fault for getting wound up by it. But if I take it away from my life, then I'm not going to get wound up by it. So it's like ignorance is bliss. So, you know, I'm a bit sparse on what to watch now. So if anyone's got any suggestions, you know, on what to watch, but I feel a happier person.
Has anybody watched 14 Peaks yet?
Oh, I want to watch
Netflix.
that. Is it good?
10 minutes.
It's on my list. It's on my watch list.
Incredible.
Yeah?
Incredible. Yeah, perhaps you could do that with your goggles, gal. 14 Peaks.
Yeah. Is it in 3D?
It would be in 3D, mate. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. No, if anybody hasn't watched 14 Peaks, it's absolutely incredible. It's like a documentary on Netflix, and a guy tries to do, I think, the world record for because there's 14 8,000 metre peaks, obviously Everest K2, and I think the world record is something like 7 years to do all 14, and he wants to do it in 7 months or something. And it's just, it's incredible. So, yeah,
he's unknown, isn't he, or something? I've just seen what I read on the... he's unknown.
He's not the first person, obviously, because there's a world record, so he's obviously not the first person to do it. But, yeah, like Owen said, he kind of almost come out of nowhere, and they're saying, there's these rumours with this guy. Who is this guy? Because he wasn't, you know, a renowned climber or
Forrest Gump.
Anything like that. Yeah, he literally just came out of nowhere and said, I'm going to do this. But they take you through his fitness levels, you know, and he's like abnormally fit. It's like, you know, the way his body kind of reacts to certain conditions is just way above like any of us.
Will I need to watch Twin Peaks or any of the sequels to understand what's going on with it? Or can I just watch it straight out?
What's Twin Peaks?
You can't remember Twin Peaks.
You don't go. I was going to go with that, but I'm glad you did.
What is Twin Peaks?
He only mentions that because it's got
It's a
pie in it.
1990s,
Was it
Netflix
David Lynch? Twin Peaks, was it David Lynch?
Yeah, and what was her name?
Who's David
the
Lynch?
actress.
Director.
You see, you do know, Jamie. You see, you do.
I know about it, but as I say, I was going to raise it, but I thought it would probably get the tumbleweed that Gary got, so at least he did.
Yeah, throw me under the bus, mate. Cheers. Thanks for that. Yeah.
And Don't Look Up as well. Have you seen that?
That is brilliant.
That's a great film.
A brilliant film.
But I tell you what, there's a lot
I thought
of.
it was crap.
Did you?
It's such a
Didn't you
brilliant
like it,
commentary on
I did like it actually. I've been nasty about it.
But it's funny
it was
'cause
good, but it was weird, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You know, it was a typical what do you call it? Report on social media, wasn't it? and phones and everything.
Yeah, it just felt typically. It felt exactly like the real world for me. Like just 100 times more, you know, like, so someone, well, I won't spoil it, but I thought it was brilliant. I thought everything about it just made me laugh.
But you've got to take it for what it is, obviously.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely. Absolutely.
But I've got, you know, a kind of few science nerd friends, you know, and they're straight away on Twitter. Oh, well, that's inaccurate because that wouldn't happen. And I was thinking, just enjoy the film. It's just a film. Do you know what I mean? It's like, you know, the Teletubbies are only partly based on truth.
Yeah,
you know?
I mean, God, if they went like that for that, imagine how they would have gone for Armageddon.
Yeah.
Well, you know, they'd never send someone up to drill on that asteroid. Well, of course, it's a film. It's fiction.
I don't want to change the subject, but has anybody watched that James Nesbitt Netflix thing, So Close or whatever?
No,
good. Stay Close, isn't it? My wife's watching
Stay
it.
Close. Right, yeah. Okay. She's watching it, right? You know when you're watching something and you're wanting to believe it, but when somebody takes a digital image and then prints it on his printer, but then hangs it up in his dark room, then you realise that possibly the continuity ain't that good. So he takes his pictures with a digital camera and then hangs it up to dry. So I thought I'd mention that. And he's got his enlargers in the background as well. So he's not hanging it up because he's put it in the printer and it's wet. It's unfortunately a lack of continuity with the programme.
You don't know that there isn't a Canon EOS R4 film camera though, do you? It could just be that it's just come out before you've realised that's what it is.
The thing is he got his Nikon D4 nicked and then he ended up with a Canon, the R200 or whatever it is. You know, the
totally unrealistic then.
Yeah, and then he's going around taking pictures of that and then trying to...
No way would a Nikon owner go, oh yeah, I'll make do with a Canon.
No, it wasn't that. It was just like it's the one I used to use for vlogging. It's that really basic one, the Rubicon or whatever it's called.
Oh yeah.
And he's going around clicking, and then he's developing them in his dark room with his red light on and everything.
Moving on from that, I have to say, Darren, by the way, I need to apologise to you because it wasn't your question. What non-photographic projects do we have planned? It was one of James's. So that's why he didn't recognise it. That's why. So anyway, moving on. This is one of yours because you're the only one who brings most of the topics to the table. What was it? DXO. Do you want to expand?
No.
Please do, because I don't know what I'm talking about.
Okay, so I just said, does anybody use DXO, Mark? And if so, what are your thoughts on it?
Dave, do you use it?
Actually, as it happens, no. I've explored it, and I really struggle to work out what is the point of it. Because if you're going to...
Dave, before you go on, do you want to explain what DXO Mark is for anybody that doesn't know?
Yes, okay. It's a series of quantitative charts and figures that tries to compare lens performance, where it actually sets lenses up against each other, against benchmarks, so that the figures they produce for example, things like how soft a lens might be in the corners and things like that, it sort of creates parallels. So you can compare the figures and you're comparing like with like to some degree. And the problem I have with it is that if you were to say, oh, I'm thinking of a particular lens, so I'll go to DXO Mark and have a look at its performance. I just have to ask, what's the point? I mean, if it's, a cheap lens cap thing or a pancake lens or something patently kit, it's going to be softer and less useful than pro glass. That's kind of about the extent of it. And I think that getting fixated on all of these charts and graphs and numbers kind of misses the point of photography, because you're losing the art, and it sort of sits alongside this general theory that you should never use a lens with the aperture stopped down to wherever its maximum is, so f22, f32, whatever it may be, or you should never use ISO above 6400 because you'll have a really noisy picture. I was given a book at Christmas, which is a fantastic book. It's essentially the history of photography from day one, all genres. And you look at these old pictures from the turn of the 20th century, and they're grainy. They've got all sorts of noise in, and they are utterly fantastic. And you look through everybody talks about Ansel Adams. We're all landscapers here. I know it's photography, any genre, but we're landscapers. And so we all point to Ansel Adams images, and we point to other favourite photographers of yesteryear. But never once would you look at one of their images and go, oh, it's a bit noisy. And, oh, that's a bit soft.
We shot that at f22.
Exactly. I put up an image that I'd shot at f22, and somebody wrote in and said, oh, that must be a typo. They were genuinely shocked. And it's the image that I took of the wave swirling out in the sunset with the foam party on the beach down the road here. Shot at f22, and the reason was I wanted the shutter speed. And the filters that I had with me were not going to get me exactly the shutter speed that I wanted. So I used the aperture to achieve that. And it's not soft. Yes, of course, by comparison to, say, f8, it's probably a bit softer. But unless I blew it up the side of a house size, you can't tell. I just think that people get so fixated on pointless things to do with technology and forget the art and the passion and the enjoyment of capturing the landscape and creating something that you can look back on and say, well, that was a wonderful moment, and now I've got a great memory of it.
I think that's my big issue with YouTube, is that everybody's talking about F8, sharp front to back, and it ruins the art of photography. Drives me absolutely nuts. And I don't know how to compete. I don't know how to compete with the guys that are talking about focusing here and focusing there, because they're missing the point, which is what the art is about, which is photography. But we're all different, and we're older, David. Maybe the younger people want that sharp front to back, and but technically you get an awesome shot, but from an artistic point of view, it can be lacking.
But I mean, the original question was to do with the DXO mark. As a concept, and I just don't, as I say, I don't understand what it's for or who would ever get any real benefit out of it. And yet the amount of work they must put in to create all of those charts and statistics must be colossal.
If I'm looking for a lens review, I'll use a website. I don't know if it's. I think they just shoot Nikon, so maybe it's not relevant to everyone, but. There's a website, I found it when I was first learning about photography, because there were abundance of information for teaching you about ISO, aperture, everything, is a website called Photography Life. And when they review lenses, they talk about real world. They'll put charts in and they'll show you, but they just tell you that they just almost give you a little bit, at 50 mil, F8, F11 is the sharpest, but don't worry about it, because if you need to shoot F16, who cares? They still keep it real world. So I think somewhere like that is really useful, because they'll give you certain information. So if you do want the sharpest aperture, then yes, you can shoot it. But they also teach you real world, and they teach you about the lens and actually what you want to know about it out as a landscape photographer. But yeah, I'm completely with you, David. Was it DXO, isn't it? It's pointless. I don't think I've ever used it.
The only problem with DXO is it's very subjective. So it depends on when you're actually shooting and you're getting your calibration, whether or not you've done it right. So that's what concerns me. Always has done with anything like that. So I've tried in the past to make my and calibrate my camera to the lens, and it's never worked. So and it's Yeah, and it's a tiny percentile anyway, isn't it, Dave?
Yeah.
It is, and Owen, it's how much improvement are you going to get? I mean, and I'm not really that bothered. For me, it's about getting the image.
It's a really good point because they did all those big comparisons about resin filters versus glass filters, and you read all these reviews saying you must shoot glass filters. Okay, whether you shoot filters is a whole other subject, but should you shoot glass filters or not, or resin because resin are soft? I did exactly that. Just went out into my back garden and thought, everyone keeps talking, I'm just going to do it. I stuck no filters, just took a photo, stuck a filter on, took a photo, and then zoomed in and thought, well, there's no difference. What are all these people moaning about that you have to shoot a glass filter, you can't shoot a resin filter, you can't, it's just... I don't know, it's just, yeah.
But I'll tell you what's strange as well. I mean, Owen, you can come in here as well because obviously you obviously print. But I know you're a big fan, like me, of the matte papers. And the matte papers it's not a sharp image once you print it on a matte paper.
Never is.
And it's great. I love print. So I try and get my images as I'll say as sharp as possible. That's the wrong word. I try and get my images to look right on the screen, but then when they print, I love that painterly feel that you get from a matte paper. Nothing is sharp at all once you start printing it on matte paper.
Do you know what I've realised though today? Just started printing. I don't want to talk about a photo speed. They've just sent me a whole A2 bunch of platinum burrita, and it's not platinum burrita in the packet. Send it back. By the by, because normally they're top notch. But for landscapes, yes, matte. But today I did a comparison on matte and semi-gloss platinum burrita for my wedding photos.
Yeah,
it's the semi-gloss hands down. But yeah, for landscapes, I do the colour gamut. But yeah, for landscapes, you can't beat them.
Well, this is only a tester at the moment. I was working, but that picture of the green woodpecker, that's shot on matte paper.
Shot on it? You shot that on matte paper?
Well, I printed that. Sorry, I printed that.
You just went up to it.
Unfortunately. This photo here, I'm gutted.
Oh, wow.
No,
you're small. Oh, wow, look at that.
Mate, it looks...
It's like Professor Yattles on a bagpuss.
It looks so good, that you guys are looking at. But
what have you printed that on then? What is that, NST or something?
No, so this is out of focus. I'm gutted.
Yeah, but... No, sorry, Darren. Isn't that the point that Dave was just making? We've all looked at that, and we've gone, wow, that's lovely.
No,
but it's out of focus.
But
we're on a computer screen, so...
Exactly, you're looking at this on a computer screen. So I've printed this on NT Bright White, which is a really heavy, like a mottled paper, because I thought, right, if I try and print this on a really heavy paper, it might... I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll bring it to yours on Sunday, Owen, and you can have a look at it. But
looking on this, I can't tell.
I love the pose, but I'm just perhaps I'm being overcritical, but it just doesn't. It's all right.
Looking from here, it's absolutely crap. That Darren, I'd just put it in the bin, mate.
Yeah, it's totally out of focus. Rubbish.
From about 2 foot away, it looks really good, but when you get up close, you just think, oh, crikey. But yeah, anyway, but going back to it,
overcritical of your own work, Darren. That's what it is.
That's the problem, isn't it?
Yeah, I suppose so.
Well, I think the moral of this conversation is we shouldn't really be using technology to learn how to take pictures. We should get out in the field, experience our equipment, test our lenses, test our apertures, and see what works best for us at the end of the day. And it is not all about what YouTube or the benchmark or DXO or anything else says. It's what's right for us, isn't it? And you learn. You just learn as you go through more and more, and you get more experience about stuff, and then you can become creative. To be fair, you can then adapt your photography to suit your own creative needs.
Yeah, but it's not... DXO mark is not about creating your photography or learning your photography. It's purely a tool to say that lens is good, or in their opinion, that lens is poor. That is it. It's purely technical based.
Yeah,
and
you know, and to calibrate your camera, if you can do that, if your camera's got the facility to make it sharper. But you know, you're talking 1,000th of a degree difference, aren't you? It's not massive.
There's a difference between DXO and real world, I think, isn't it? That's the important thing. You have to look at it real world rather than...
Well, I mean, I come from film, and you know, you're talking. This is what David was saying. You're talking 1,000% difference between shooting with film and shooting with digital. With digital, you can make sure that everything's sharp in the corners and this, that, and the other. That didn't happen with film. When you went out with film, it was all about the experience and getting a shot. And if it came back and it was good, you were over the moon. But now we end up anal about whether or not it's sharp in the corner or whether or not we're shooting F16 or F8. You didn't have that facility when you were shooting with film. You got the shot, and when you got the shot, you're going back. If it was relatively sharp front to back, you were over the moon. And if it was in focus and it was exposed properly, you were over the moon. And if you were doing it in the dark room and you managed to get an image going through all the processes, and you came back with a decent image, you were over the moon. But you weren't worrying about technically whether or not it was sharp front to back or whether or not it was sharp in the corners.
I'll tell you what springs to mind with me to sort of illustrate exactly what you were just saying, Paul. A very well-known photographer by the name of Mr. Heaton did a talk, and he shared the first image that he took as a landscaper. Well, I think he was about 15 years old. He was on the beach at Blackpool, and it was a shot of the sunset over the beach, shot with film. And he was so proud of it. He said, "Oh, I just loved this image, and it set me on the path that I'm on now." And his genuine enthusiasm for that image, I don't know how old he is, but let's say 15 years later, was still palpable. And for me, that's what photography is about. And you know, our photography gear is the equivalent of a box of paintbrushes and some oil paints, or is the equivalent of, I don't know, a piece of vinyl and a set of chisels to make lino prints. Yeah. It's just our chosen medium. What matters is what we do with that, and then the enjoyment that we get out of it. And if somebody else gets enjoyment out of it as well, that's a bonus, but that's really not the point of the exercise.
You've hit the nail on the head. It's about your enjoyment. If anybody else enjoys it,
I'm quite proud of myself recently as well, because I've just literally to do that. It's not about gear. I've thought about what's convenient. What I want is I've just sold my 70 to 200 and my 24 to 70 to get a 24 to 120, because I don't really care if it's not as perfect as the other two lens. It's about when I'm out in the woodland, having gained experience and you know, an enjoyment of just knowing what will enhance that experience. All I need Nikon to do is just bloody hurry up and actually release the lens, because at the minute I'm sat here with no lenses. But
I think you're right, Owen. I think doing what you're doing is the way to go. Is that there are people that are buying lenses at certain focal lengths, certain zoom lenses, that are going to incorporate the focal lengths that we need, and then we're going to move away from that trinity of lenses that people talk about. And I think you're right. I think from a convenience point of view, because I mean, people talk about prime lenses. Yeah, I can understand the concept of prime lenses and the ideology behind it. But for 99.99% of people, a zoom lens will work. And for 99.99% of people, a zoom lens will work from 24mm up to 200mm. You know, if we're going to be snobby about it, yeah, we're going to say, yeah, you need that trinity of lenses. But I'm with you. I mean, when I can and when I can afford it, I'm going to get rid of my own lenses and buy something that incorporates most of the focal length.
Yeah, but you've, like you said, you've been shooting for years and years, so you've got that experience to know what you want.
Absolutely.
And what works for you, isn't it?
You've hit the nail on the head. It's what you want and what works for you. Yeah.
It was not purely emotional though. I did do a little bit of just checking. When you can load up Lightroom and you can say, show me all the photos that I've taken at this. I never knew you could do this actually until recently. I looked on my 70-200 how many photos I took above 120mm.
Yeah, very
few. It was like a tiny percentage, and that was what made me realise. That was the sort of the wake up moment. I thought, well, I don't need it.
Yeah.
Why do I don't even need it.
You don't need it now.
Yeah. And I don't mind if my corners are a little bit softer on the 24 to 120 than a 24 to 70.
Especially not in woodland.
When you first started though, were you concerned about sharpness then? Because I think when I first started, the things that I always read, like because I read a lot, it was always how to get pin sharp photos, front to back, etc., etc. I think you go through that as a photographer.
Yeah, definitely.
You find that important, and then you come out the other side and you realise that it's not important at all, and then you try. Like I've got like a little raft of vintage lenses that I love, and they are not sharp at all, but they've got a feel about them that you can't replicate in the newer lenses. So I think when you start, I think a lot of people when they start, they are fixated by how sharp things are, and that's where
because
DXOs,
they haven't got that experience.
Yeah. Well, because
it's exactly that. It's a journey, isn't it?
Because they're told, you are told it's important. You're told by everybody, forums and YouTube and Fstoppers.
But Gary, you've watched me, haven't you?
Yeah.
You watched me in the past, haven't you? And what have I said? I've always said, don't worry about sharp front to back.
Yeah.
And the thing is because shooting from a film point of view, I watch YouTube and everybody talks about sharp front to back, and I think you are absolutely missing the point of what photography is all about.
Yeah.
But you can't say that because everybody wants to know about focus stacking and this, that, and the other. That's not how your eye works, and it's not how a camera works. You have to manipulate the image and manipulate the shots to get that sharp front to back. You just do. And if that's what you want from an artistic point of view, I'm not knocking you. Go for it. But don't feel that you're selling yourself short if you're taking an image that's slightly soft in the foreground, slightly soft in the background, or wherever you're focusing at. Don't worry about it, because that's how your eye works. It's artistic license at the end of the day.
Gary, to sort of actually confirm what you've said and what you're saying, Paul, is I went through, because I've only been doing not long, not compared to some of you guys. I went through that whole phase of I went through that whole phase of like you said, Gary. Everything has to be sharp. Everything has to be this and I remember the first 7200 I bought a 7200 2.8 because everyone said you needed 2.8, you needed that, and it's not until you then start going out and doing your own photography and your own experience and realising what you want as an individual that you then realise, no, I don't care about 2.8, I don't need it.
Absolutely, yeah.
Is there not an argument to say that from a beginner's perspective, it is good to learn all of those basics? It's good to learn what affects aperture, what affects your focus, and what makes an image sharp. Because once you've learnt it, then you can make your own decisions. But until such time, you probably have to focus on, avoiding the pun, but focus on how you're going to be able to become a better photographer through learning all of the basics, learning all of the exposure triangle, learning your depth of field and everything else. Once you've done that, then you can start to make your own decisions about how to adapt it to your own photography needs. 100%,
but it doesn't mean you then have to buy a 2.8 lens to learn it.
And you're kind of told that you need to buy that. That's the problem. It's like all of the stuff you said is totally valid. Learning, exposure triangle, learn about aperture, learn about all that. But you're kind of told by the masses, if you like, or the experts that you need this lens. You need to. I remember being absolutely fixated on trying to learn what focus stacking was, because as a beginner I couldn't get my head around it. I just couldn't understand it, and it was almost like everywhere you see you want to get. It was almost like want to get great sharp photos. Learn this method, and it was like, I need to learn this method. It's really important, and actually it's not important at all. But you kind of told it. And it's like you buy these lenses. I was like, I remember going, I must get a 24 to 70 f2.8, a Canon, because it's the sharpest lens in that range, and I must get it. And when I got it, it was sharp, but you don't look at a rubbish photo and go, well, that's really sharp. You look at a rubbish photo and go, that's rubbish.
Absolutely, you've hit the nail on the head there, mate. That's the key. If it's a good photo, it don't matter if it's not sharp front to back. If it's a bad photo and it's sharp front to back, it's still a bad shit photo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And on the flip side, I've never, like Dave was saying earlier, I've never looked at a photo on a website and gone, oh, that's F22.
No, exactly.
Never once.
Yeah.
Never once
Yeah.
gone.
Yeah, it goes back to that. It goes back to that.
Back.
The whole concept. We're talking widely now. Full frame versus APS-C versus micro 4/3 versus, 2.8 versus sharp front to back. None of it matters. And this is the thing that worries me about YouTube, is that there are a lot of influencers out there, and that's why I love Tom Eaton, because even though he's using bigger cameras now and this, that and the other, he's still got the root of what photography is all about. But there are a lot of people talking about exactly, you need this lens and you need that camera, and no, you don't. If you look at my videos 5 years ago, I went and shot with an old Sony NEX7 to try and encourage people to go out and shoot with any camera that they've got. Whether it's a film camera or whether it's a cheap digital, it doesn't matter. Go out and shoot and enjoy it.
Before we go, we've got a bit of a treat, haven't we? We've got a bit of a treat here, because Owen is going to play us out. So we'll say goodbye, and then Owen's going to play us out with a little tune on his guitar before we go, just to
looking forward to it,
so,
You know, I've had about 4 pints during this, so...
even better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah. So first off, thanks so much for watching, everyone. And Owen's gone.
Owen's arse.
Okay, thanks so much for watching, everyone. Really appreciate it. We'll see you all next week. Stick around for Owen's guitar.
See you guys. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
See ya.
See you later.